Okay, we are live. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the GEGNoVA November meeting. It's good to see you all.
Definitely. Welcome.
My name is Teresa Hoover-Ducasu. I'm a band director in Arlington and one of the co-leaders of this group.
And my name is Tyler Whitman. I'm an instructional technology coordinator in Arlington and another co-leader of this group. And we'll be joined later by Dr. Karen Richardson, who is the executive director of the Virginia Society for Technology and Education. And Teresa will explain a little bit about what she's going to be talking about.
Right. Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Yes. So anyways, tonight we're going to talk about some Google news and updates. Before that, we'll go over what this group is, GEGNoVA, if you're a first-time viewer. What's new with Google. We'll go over some upcoming events. And then, as Tyler said, Karen is going to be here to talk to us about OER and Go Open Virginia, how we can remix and reuse these really awesome resources that are available to everyone. And then we'll have time for questions at the end.
Yep. All right.
So just thinking about this group, what is GEGNoVA? So GEG stands for Google Educator Group. And GEGs they're local communities of educators, but they don't necessarily have to be local. You don't have to be a Northern Virginia resident to be a part of this group. But we come together to learn from each other, share, and inspire each other to really meet the needs of the kids. And we're finding, especially right now with so many people doing either distance learning or some hybrid mix of the two, this has been a really great group to have and to be a part of. So we do encourage you to join our Google group. It's the group itself functions kind of like a discussion board where you can be posting questions and conversations, topics, things like that. And then we will be having these monthly webinars. If you'd like to access the slides that we're in right now, I've put that into the chat, so you should be able to see that. And all the slides are links. You can go ahead and click away, join the group, fill out a survey if there's something that you would like to share at one of our future webinars. We would love to hear from you, or even if you just have ideas and things that you would like to learn about. So please fill out that survey that you can find there in the slides.
All right, so what's new with Google? So we have a couple different features that we wanted to kind of look at tonight. One of the newest features within Google Meet is you're now able to accept knocks, which is the equivalent of someone trying to get into your meeting. You're now able to accept them in bulk. So you no longer have to accept individual people. You can accept all of them all at once. And that allows you to try and minimize the disruptions and distractions during your meeting so you can focus on what you're actually there to do. Another new thing with Google, specifically within Google Meet, is we now have the ability to change our backgrounds. And so there are some great new hand-picked images from Google, but you're also able to upload your own background, which is always fun. It's always fun to kind of I know in the last staff meeting that we had a kind of contest almost about who had the coolest background within the meeting. So that's always fun. And you could do the same with kids. They're always looking for a creative outlet like that. So.
Well, anything that gets their camera on is a good thing, right? If you can encourage them to turn the camera on by having a cool background, then that's a win.
For sure, for sure. All right. We also have learned that Google Expeditions will be essentially depreciated. I think that's the way you pronounce that. And it kind of merged into Google Arts and Culture. For a while now, Google Arts and Culture has included 360-degree tours of different museums and different culturally significant places around the world. And so it was just a natural merger for them to kind of put all of those tours that already existed in Google Expeditions into the Google Arts and Cultures app, and then the website as well. And so Google Expeditions as we know it will cease to exist after June 30th. And it won't be able to, you will no longer be able to download it as an app. And Google Arts and Culture, where all of that content is moving, is available as an Android app, an iOS app, and via the web. And those 3 links are at the bottom of that slide.
Cool. Do you use arts and culture much, Tyler, or have you explored it?
I haven't. I've co-taught a few art classes where we've looked into some of the local museums, especially now that we can't go and see them in person. It's been great to kind of take some virtual field trips. I haven't used it a ton yet, but I'm looking to do more of exactly that this year.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, even as a, it's called arts and culture, but as a music teacher, there's still a lot of content for musicians. There's a really great jazz, they call them exhibit, a great jazz exhibit. And then there's even some really neat stuff on the Kennedy Center. The school that I used to teach at, they would always go on field trips to the Kennedy Center. And when that all got canceled last year, they were able to take the kids on a virtual field trip using Google Arts and Culture so they could still experience the Kennedy Center. It was a really, really neat experience for them. So if you haven't checked that out, even though we're hearing that, Expeditions is going to be merging and moving whatnot, but definitely check out the arts and culture resources, because you can get lost and just spend hours there.
Right. All right. So we also have a new Google update within Gmail and Google Chat. So you can now kind of, I know for me at least, it's a little bit hard now that we're working from home to kind of set those boundaries, right, between work and home life. So this is one way that you can make sure that you're doing that by setting your status as away, so that you are no longer active in other people's chat within Google and within Gmail. And it kind of also during the day, if you have a particular task that you're trying to focus on, it can help you focus in on that if you don't have those interruptions of constant chat messages. So moving on.
So as a lot of us know, the Hour of Code and the Computer Science Education Week is coming up in December. This year it'll take place December 7th to the 13th. And CS First is definitely doing things to help educators this year, no matter what kind of situation they're in. And one thing that I thought was really neat is the CS First Unplugged. So they actually have a series of lessons for 4th through 8th grade that are going to go through those similar computer science and coding concepts and standards, but you don't actually need a computer. So no matter where your kids are, no matter what they have access to, they can still go out and they can do these activities. The CS First Unplugged is mostly for students in 4th through 8th grade, but I'm sure there's some wiggle room there. And it seemed like they were all about an hour long for each activity, but it was things like mapping your neighborhood and making different things work that way. And just really, really cute things to get kids excited about those concepts from computer science. They also have some new lessons for coding with Scratch that are up there. They're a little bit more in-depth since you are actually using Scratch, and a whole slew of other hour-long activities. So if you're looking to participate in Hour of Code during the week of December 7th to 13th, or really anytime you're trying to do some coding, it's a great resource for you to check out. So the picture is actually linked there to the website so you can get some more information.
Perfect. I know I always love doing something different every year for Hour of Code. I know last year I worked with our technology teacher. She actually they have this activity, I think I can't remember whether it's on the Hour of Code website or Google's website, where it's basically a dance party. And the idea is you have to follow the directions. Like we talk about algorithms all the time, and the fact that it's just an order of directions you follow. And so the idea was, well, you have to follow the dance moves in order to be able to do it correctly, right? So it's always a fun, creative time.
Right. And that's the key, is the creativity aspect. We have to remember that it's not just, kids sitting behind devices or that kind of thing. There's so much creativity involved. For sure.
Yeah. All right. So we do have some other upcoming events. So we have Karen here from Visti, and Visti actually is coming up, their annual conference. This year, the theme is focusing on the future. And it is from December 9th through the 13th. And this year it is fully virtual with both on-demand and live sessions. Registration is open now, And the early bird pricing is still going on through Thanksgiving. It's only $75. And that link there on the slides goes directly to the registration page. And then Teresa, if you want to talk about Global GEG.
Real quick before I do that, Tyler, are you presenting at Misty?
I am. I have two different presentations I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Doing one all about Google add-ons and extensions. And then I'm also doing a presentation on Nearpod. So definitely look out for those. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm excited about those.
Figured we had to put a little plug in for that.
Yeah, always.
So the global GEG, the Global Google Educator Group, if you're not familiar with them, definitely join. We mentioned before how, you know, the GEGs are meant to be like local communities, but at the same time, you're not bound by that area. You can join as many as you want. So the Global GEG is a group of educators from all around the world who are just doing really wonderful things. There was a whole series over the summer, the Google Certified Educator boot camps to help people take their level 1 and 2 tests. And there's different webinars almost every week that are happening. So two things we wanted to note that they're doing coming up. One is an escape room session, which is going to take place on December 13th. So there's a link to that, as well as every Sunday they hold a staff room. And the staff room really started back like in March when things were shutting down and we lost that staff room. You know, we lost the ability to go just talk to our colleagues and have that conversation at the copy machine or while you're eating lunch, making coffee. So they started a staff room that happens every Sunday. And it's really just a time for educators to talk to other teachers, you know, and it could be a topic where you're talking about how's your mental health this week, or maybe you're going in something deeper where you're really like talking about lessons and teaching strategies and stuff like that. But it's a fun group of people. It's a nice place to go. So if you have a Sunday where you're not doing anything else, I recommend joining. But if check out the GEG Global's website. On there, you'll see all the links to their upcoming sessions. Plus, you can access recordings from pretty much everyone that's already happened. So there's something for everyone. And it's not even limited to just Google things. We've had webinars about Flipgrid. We've actually had things that talk about Microsoft and how that works with Google, which is really interesting. They've done some on Canvas. They've done all kinds of different technology tools. So it's the recognition that as educators, we're trying to best use these tools to meet the needs of our students, whether it's Google or whether it's anything else. So definitely check out the global resources there.
For sure. All right.
All right. So I mentioned the Google certifications before, and we're questioning, has anybody out there recently been certified so we can celebrate you? We had a bunch of members over the summer complete their level 1 and 2 certifications, which was awesome. So if anybody else out there has done that recently, tell us, and we'll make sure to give you a shout out during our next monthly meeting, because it's a great thing that you're doing for yourself and for your students. You can learn more about the certifications at the Google Teacher Center. The nice thing about them is all of the information you need is right there on the website, and it's available to you. So you can work through the content at your own pace. As I said before, you can go over to the Global GEG website, watch the boot camp videos if you want to, get even more information, and then you can take those tests. The tests each test is about 3 hours long, and it takes a good bit of time, but it's worthwhile. And I think the first test maybe is $10 to take. The second test is $20, something like that. It's very reasonable, and the information and content you get is great.
Definitely. All right.
All right. Well, you want to introduce our special guest? Should I bring her in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So tonight we are proud to be joined by Karen Richardson, the Executive Director of VISTE, which is the Virginia Society for Technology and Education. And she's here tonight to talk to us about the Go Open platform and open educational resources within Virginia. So welcome, Karen.
All right, thanks very much. So I start off everything. I have chosen to live out in the country. I absolutely love it to death, I've actually raised baby pigs, my friends. I saw Heather Hurley in the YouTube chat. I know she's very jealous about that. Bacon seeds, she calls them. Anyway, but you know that there is a digital divide in our state, and I'm getting on the platform to say that we need better internet. Yay, Heather! Woohoo! There she is. So anyway, so if at any moment I disappear, talk amongst yourselves, and I promise I'll be back again. But we're gonna do the best we can tonight. So there you go. Yeah, I love the pigs, man. I sort of miss my pigs, but luckily I live in the country. I have friends who have baby pigs. Better than your own pigs is friends with pigs. So there you go. Wow, we've really bird walked already, haven't we? I know we all need Thanksgiving vacation, don't we? I think I do. So I am here tonight to talk to you about a project that VISTI's been involved in along with the Virginia Department of Education, related to this thing called OER and then Go Open VA. So I want to start, and you guys are sharing, so I think the next slides.
Sure.
Yeah, good. Oh, I like to connect things to bigger standards. So VISTI, of course, is related to ISTE. And as we think about what I'm going to talk about for the next couple minutes in terms of creating resources, sharing resources, and then using resources, they do connect to both the educator and the student standards, both in terms of students creating things and sharing them. You'll notice that's the creative communicator standard, but also in terms of teachers looking for curating, adopting, sharing, and then figuring out how we navigate this, because ultimately we're going to talk a little, it all relates in terms of digital citizenship, how we share things, how we use things, and so on and so forth. So there you go. There's your standards for the night. You can put this in as professional development points. So, and so I've been doing this since the late 1990s and into the early 2000s when the internet just got started. And in those days, we started thinking about things called learning objects. We immediately saw that teachers were creating things. We needed a way for them to be able to easily share them with each other. So if you did this little bit over here about physics and I did this little bit over here, and now we've got like two little pieces of things that we could put together, and we could create a book or we could create a website. But the goal was to get all the stuff that teachers were doing for themselves out into the world and share, just like you all are talking about doing with your groups and those kinds of things. The problem we had in those days was we didn't have the technologies. The internet was just getting started. Video technologies were hard. We didn't have that kind of platform that we needed. In addition, we didn't have copyright, and I can see your eyes glazing over, so I'm going to go through this quickly here, but copyright became really important. We didn't really care in our classroom. I am here to say you can take me wherever. I broke copyright all the time as a classroom teacher. I mean, my school division brought me a workbook that I wasn't supposed to copy, and they gave me one copy. I stood in the copy room and I copied it. The chances of me getting caught, really, really small, right? But that's what we did. Then the web came, we started putting stuff out on the web, and suddenly Disney's coming down on us, or whoever's coming down on us, because they're on that left side of that continuum you're looking at, that traditional copyright. Traditional copyright basically says you created it, you control it, and if anybody breaches any of your rights, you can just go right after them. There is a bit of called fair use, there's some wiggle room, but it can become a challenge as well. It just got hard to use stuff that was right there. Remember when you learned to right click on an image on the internet and save it to your hard drive? I see you grinning. You do remember that. Did you think before you right clicked, I shouldn't do this because I'm breaking copyright? Yeah, if you did, you're a better human being than I am, right? We just download, we were having a great time, right? And remember Zamzar, you could save YouTube videos, and we were not in the complete right. Anyway, on the other side of that continuum is public domain. This is stuff that anybody can use anywhere, anytime, federal government stuff, anything recreated to before 1924 right now. I've got a link out to a good resource that explains public domain, explains what became available when 1924 stuff became available, so on and so forth. What we're interested in tonight is the smack dab middle of that. Lawrence Lessig, I think he was at Harvard's Beekman Law School, about 12, 15 years ago said, you know, we got to make stuff easier to share on the web. We have this amazing platform where anyone, anywhere can share anything they want, and that copyright is standing in the way. We had no choice. You either gave up all your rights for public domain or you kept all your rights. So he created this thing called Creative Commons that basically allowed us to license things in a way that said, I'll give you my example. I have a Flickr account. I've got 5,000 photos up there. I'm not going to be a professional photographer. So well, come on, guys. I've been on the web. I think my librarything.com account turned 15 years old this year. That means I get to buy 16 books anyway. So I've got a lot of photos at Flickr, right? But I'm not a professional photographer. If you want to use my photos, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to grab my photo and give me credit for it. That's all I'm asking. You want to change it, fine. But mostly I just want clicker. I just want credit for my picture. So that's what Creative Commons was all about. It allowed somebody like me to create content, put it on the web and say, don't ask me for permission. Here's what you can do with it. You can use it, you can change it, and you can redistribute it to your heart's content as long as you say Karen Richardson created it. So that's the piece along with the technology. Again, youngsters out there in the world, I don't think you understand how hard it was to like download and edit a video and then like re-upload it someplace else. Like those were things that really, probably I'm going to say the last 5 to 8 years. But right now we're at the conjunction where the copyright comes together, the technology comes together, and we have this opportunity to really share things as educators outside of our school divisions and with a larger community that we didn't have before. All right, Heather still has Flickr. I wonder what Mel A is using, and I should probably turn off the chat because I'm like totally oh look, squirrel. So let's turn to the next slide. Oh, good. So how does this work? Well, you become part of what's called the Commons. So the Creative Commons people basically created this Commons idea. And their license, you can set the licenses the way that they want to, but that conjunction has now come together with a series of websites that collect this open education resource together. So you hear it, OER, hashtag OER. The definition that's generally accepted is on the slide here. I'm going to give you an example. You go out to YouTube, because I think what people don't understand is the open part. So you go to YouTube, you search on a video about some topic, physics. Let's pick physics because I don't know anything about it, so that'll be really good to do. So we pick a physics video. We really like the video. It's great. We think, oh, well, this is an open education resource, right? Nuh-uh. It's an available education resource. All right. And YouTube particularly can be hard because their copyright stuff is always under the more. You got to click the more to find out how they're sharing it. And YouTube, as its default, is traditional copyright. So you cannot really download that video. You cannot really do anything with that video other than share the link with your students. You're not supposed to show it in a workshop. You shouldn't have it embedded in your Canvas site or your Schoology site or any of that sort of stuff. Honestly, copyright would say you should link to it. But if it says it's a Creative Commons license, that says to me, bingo, I can download it. And more importantly, I don't know if you've been on YouTube lately, but like you find this great video, but there's that section from minute 3 to 4 that you don't want. Like it's too advanced or it's wrong. Or maybe you really like the visuals that the person used, but honestly, you could write a much better script than they did. So all you want's that part and you just want to rewrite the audio piece of it and cut and paste. That's what we talk about with Remix. And it is work. But that's the piece that makes it open. The ability via a Creative Commons license to take something someone else created and make it your own. That's sort of the bottom line. Having talked with Tyler prior to this, and we'll talk a little bit about a couple of the links, but your comment was you found a lot of things you could actually use right out of the box, right?
For sure, definitely. Especially if I was still in the classroom. Like I'm a tech coach now, but absolutely there were definitely plenty of resources that I could use tomorrow. So
sure, which is great. But the nice piece about it is if there was that one section of it that you thought, man, if I put that in there, this is going to trip my kids up, or we're not there yet, like this is too far down the curriculum line, you can grab it and you can remix it and you can change it up for your students. And I think that's the piece of OER that we sometimes miss. It's great if you can plug and play. And for small things, sometimes that works. But part of the goal of Go Open is lesson plans, maybe larger curriculum units, and the ability to grab those and then change them up the way you need to, I think is one of the real pieces here that we haven't quite gotten to, that you can fix it for yourself. And research goes back, I'll do a shout out to my mentor, Dr. Judy Harris at William and Mary. Long time ago, when ISTE was first publishing books, she did one on kind of activity structures using the web. So these routines that you would create around the web. But her comment was that while it's great if you can plug and play, often teachers do want to tinker with things. They know their kids, they know their particular audience. And so that ability to at least have the structure, but then mess with it, I think is important. So I think we decided we weren't going to sort of surf websites here, but I'll at least go through what the links are here. So Go Open really has only been available to the public since January 2020. We rolled it out in January 2020. Virginia has been actively involved in the OER movement since the federal government got started on this notion of Go Open. So we've been an ambassador state. A variety of stakeholders came together, but Go Open VA is the deliverable. That's the spot where you go, and that's the hub of everything. I hope I said her name. I'm going to say it again. Jean Weller at the Department of Education has been the huge champion of this. I mean, she's been the coordinator of the whole thing. And we'll talk about sort of how we're working together with her in a minute. But one of the things Jean did immediately when COVID came and schools shut down was she said, Go Open would be a great place to put some stuff together. Every school division in the state started working on COVID plans, or started working on guidance for what you were going to do, or started pulling together resources. And so Jean went to them and said, post them here under these curated collections. So we want your closing plans. What guidance are you giving to people? Did you create a document for parents that other school divisions might be able to benefit from? Did you create a guide in Spanish? That might be helpful for second language populations. Whatever it is, post it up there for us. I know we want to like brand things for our school division, but boy, having that core, at least just the language that other people used to get started is a good way. And so that's one of the things that Jean did. Under the curated collections, we also put out a call to folks like Tyler and Teresa to say, we know you're creating a ton of professional development resources. Again, are you doing a video for how to navigate your LMS? Are you doing something fun on just teaching? Whatever it is, we'd like to see what those resources are. And the more you can share them to a wider audience, the better. Maybe they can't edit them, but maybe they could. Here's the beauty of Go Open VA. Before I go through kind of the rest of these, here's the beauty of it. If you're doing stuff in Google Docs, which I think a lot of people in the state might be doing.
For sure.
So you've created a beautiful lesson plan in a Google Doc. You go into Go Open VA. We'll talk a minute about getting access to it, but I think most of you, it should be pretty easy to access. You go into your account and Go Open VA. You say, I want to create a new resource. And there's a button that says, upload it from my Google Drive. And you click that button and it's there. You're not retyping, you're not putting in, you may edit whatever it is. But again, we've finally gotten the pieces together so it all works. So Google Docs go directly into Go Open. It's easy to share things out. And because it's a state resource, every teacher should have a free account. So before I go much further, I'm going to take a breath. I talked to my board folks. We've talked to you two. Tell me how you guys access it through Arlington.
So we use a single sign-on. So we use something called My Access, and we would go through there to get to it. And it's just a button on My Access. And I think a lot of other districts are in a similar situation, whether they're using Clever or something else.
So a question though, Karen, does somebody have to be a Virginia educator to access these resources?
That is a good question. And I don't know for sure. It's definitely a Virginia resource, and we're providing, I believe, Department of Education's working with school divisions to make sure their faculty's in there. I have an account. I'm not a K-12 educator, but yeah, I'm not sure. I can't imagine. If you wanted to come in and share good resources, I bet we'd get you an account. I just don't think it's as seamless. The goal with DOE was to make it sort of seamless for school divisions.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it now. I have it pulled up. Sorry, I'm the second screen. I'm not trying to look away from you.
No, good for you.
It looks like without signing in, I'm still able to navigate the website and get access to some things. I'm not able to, I haven't yet been able to download something that's not a PDF. So maybe
I was able to get into Google Docs earlier, which I
without
found
signing
interesting. Yep.
Awesome.
So
that's
there's a lot you can do without logging in. It's saving. Once you get a login, like a typical place, you can share, you can save resources, and then you can also remix and create new resources. But there's a lot you can do without a login. And I encourage people to start that way. Look to see what's out there, grab stuff. But if you download that lesson plan and then go in and tinker with it, upload it again. So let's talk about those last few links here that are on this slide. So VISD has been a part of this rollout. We've sponsored a couple of face-to-face summits. We would have sponsored some more, but nobody does anything face-to-face anymore. So, so we're doing this kind of stuff. But what we did was go to Jean Weller, who is the real force behind this. And I asked her to put together a weekly selection of Go Open Virginia resources that she thought would be helpful to people. So the first link is just all of them. It's hard to believe, and I hope other people have had this sense. Jean's been doing this since August. I would have said there were like about 4 or 5 weeks of them. And it's like, no, we've got, 4 months worth of featured resources from Jean. It's amazing. So that first link that says Go Open VA, that'll get you all of them. That takes you to the tag in our WordPress site, as it were. But I highlighted a couple because what Jean's been doing, the one from October 26th, is she has been featuring resources that teachers have remixed. Because I think, Tyler, I had a sense from you about the sense of when would I remix it or why would I remix it? Like, this works for me, I'm going to download it. And I think for a lot of teachers, that's probably what they're looking for. And I would like to believe that these are all the resources are vetted before they're posted. So maybe we're one step above perhaps some of those other websites that might be selling materials or those sorts of things. And plus, you are connecting to your Virginia peeps too. You know, people who understand SOL and computer science standards and those kinds of things. I'm going to do a shout out to Kim Wilkins, who was at who does Tech Girls in Charlottesville. I think she's getting her doctorate at UVA now, but she's put up a ton of really good computer science resources and lessons, ideas that she's developed with teacher groups that she put together. You're going to see a lot of resources coming out of the ASCE grants as well that are out there in the state where people are developing computer science lesson plans. All those things are going to go into Go Open VA. But those resources from October 26th, if you check out that one, it's a original plan, and then she shows you how people remixed it. They took it and then they changed it up. The other thing she's done for us in a previous week as well was one of those PDFs that's out there. You can't edit the PDF, but in the comments section, it was a PDF, I think, of Spanish verbs or something. 3 different Spanish teachers commented on how they would use it. And all 3 of them were doing it in a different way. One of them has Acrobat. They were going to edit it. One other said, this is a great study guide. Another one's, you know, they had different ideas for how to use things. So even if it's a static resource, it's a chance to sort of talk to people about how you might do something. And then the last one I put up there is one I put up. I feel like I should try to walk the walk a little bit if I'm doing this. So I've been putting some things together, but this one's kind of a fun one that I always have to do shout outs to people because I have no original ideas, I don't think. Tom Woodward, who was on the VISTE board of directors and I think in Henrico County, and he is at Virginia Commonwealth University right now, but he came up with this really great remix idea a long time ago when it was harder to remix stuff, and they're historical selfies. And this one might be worth showing because I think I have a picture in there of it. Who's ever sharing might want to click on it. But the whole idea was that what if Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo was taking a selfie and posting it on Instagram or Snapchat? Like, what hashtags would he use? What description would he include? And so on and so forth. So Tom actually came up with the template for what it looked like in those days. And these are a little old. And I think Tom told me on Twitter that, oh, perfect, good. So I think Tom told me on Twitter that he has updated the template. But this is a great example of sharing. Tom created the template. He shared it out in a copyright friendly way. I was able to grab it, and I think I must have been in an Antarctic mode right then. But you know, there's Robert Scott. He's tacked on to the picture of a tent from the Amundsen folks. So he gets to the South Pole and realizes, oh, we're done. You know, somebody's already been here. So there's his little comment, and then his hashtags that went along with it. And then the other interesting piece of this that I don't think is in the lesson plans is Scott and his folks actually took one of the first selfies at the South Pole. And it is available via public domain. So go do a Google, my friends. But they did. It was the group of them. The camera was over there, and they used the good old fashioned string pull to take a picture of themselves, which I thought was really interesting. But that's one of my contributions. And I think there's all sorts of things folks could do with it. So I'm putting it out now because I'd love folks to come back and say, hey, we could do this and this, or we could do this and that. And it's short and sweet, but it's a way of thinking about history. In this case, I've combined 2 open resources. They're both public domain photos, one of the tent, one of Amundsen, and then I used Tom Woodward's template to put it all together to remix it. And I think it'd be a fun little lesson plan. So there you go. So I think I'm done. Am I done? I think I'm done. Did I talk long enough? I can riff some more if I need to.
This is really cool just because everything that you're talking about is exactly what the GEGs embody. The idea of educators sharing and working together and not all recreating the wheel. And that's such a big thing. And the fact that, these resources are out there for teachers created by teachers is really powerful.
And I'd like to believe that they'd be more widely recognized had not COVID arrived in March. We had summits planned, we had done a lot of upfront work. There were beta testers in there creating, so you'll see teachers who had spent time creating things. There are a lot of resources there that aren't Virginia related because we were able to tap into some of the other OER databases. Virginia and North Carolina are both OER Go ambassador states, so look for some stuff in February for Digital Learning Month. But yeah, I feel like we were ready to go, and like so many other things, we stalled out a little bit. But that's part of what Jean's doing. Let's make it relevant to people. Let's share those kinds of documents that people need, and that sort of thing.
But I think to your point, Karen, I think it's so valuable to have something that is Virginia-based, simply because people in Virginia know what needs to be taught in Virginia. Those SOL goals, like being able to say, I know I need to teach this particular standard in Virginia history, right? And being able to go look for that standard through all of these resources that are out there. I think that's so powerful,
And one of the places we could use help from people, actually, and we're thinking about doing some kind of hacking thing maybe in the spring, but because we brought in resources from other places, they may be Virginia standards, but they're not actually tagged already. And so one of the places, and I know the Virginia Library, the State Library of Virginia, has been doing this with people helping to transcribe written digital documents, so they scan in an old letter, and then they'll have a weekend of a hackathon kind of thing where you can go in and do some of the transcribing. Go Open could use that help. Like if you go in and you find, so you search on physics or you search on whatever you search on and you find this good resource, but it's from Ohio. If you have an account, you can edit that and you can tag it. So you can, and you don't have to tag all the SOL. I don't expect you to be an overachiever, but if you went in there looking for a resource for, English 10.3 and you found this one, take a minute, save it to your account, and then tag it English 10.3, and then you've done a little bit of service for everybody else as well. So it's those little bits of pieces. But I think we're getting there, and I feel like the GEGs are getting us there, and we've got these regional groups going. When I first started in education, you closed your door and you taught, and maybe you had English teacher colleagues who said, oh, do you want to see my Julius Caesar unit? But there wasn't a lot of that kind of sharing. And I think we're getting to the point now where we see that we don't have the time to do it all. And yet we're creating good stuff that we can kind of exchange, not just with the lady that teaches next to us or the woman in 6th grade. We really can do this on a state level and potentially, on a national level. But the Virginia piece is what I care about.
This is for Karen and Tyler. There was a question in the chat a little bit back where they were talking about virtual field trips for 4th grade students. And 4th grade, of course, is an interesting time for history since that's the Virginia history. Sure. Any ideas and suggestions, thoughts about that?
Oh my gosh. So the I think they've stopped now. But who were they from Henrico? Alfonso and Alfonso Favalli and my friends. Come on, the Trekkers, the Virginia Trekkers. They must be in Go Open. Do you know these guys?
I don't
know. It's David Clow. No. This is what but look, I can remember their names, so I'm not as old as I seem. David Clow, Alfonso Favalli were the two main guys. There were a couple others. They're called the Virginia Trekkers. Go Google them. They went around the state and did videos of all the stuff that was included in like Virginia history, and they did the field trips. They must be on.
How cool! I don't think
that my internet is dying. Yeah, it's telling me I've made it this far. I've made it for 45 minutes. We'll try. I'm going to turn my camera off.
Okay. I'm trying to find it online.
Look them up. They're the
just
Virginia Trekkers. Somebody in the
I
chat's got
found
to
their
have a link
website.
to.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, yep. Lori just looks like she just put it in the VA Trekkers and the 5 reasons. Cool.
And
cool. Oh, it's a Scratch project. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but
Very
would
cool.
that be them? Were they .coms?
I don't know.
I don't know.
The other thing I'm trying to remember, and I put it in the chat as well, there was an innovator project.
Yep, there they are.
That had to do with 360 videos. It was Tyler, it was Justin's friend. I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm just drawing a blank.
I'm blanking. Yeah. I'm
like, how could I find this info quickly? Google, help me.
Right. Let me see if I could do some searches, but I'm sure we could find it eventually.
Yeah, but what a cool project that Virginia Trekkers thing sounds like.
Right.
So, well, and Lori put in the chat that she found their 5 regions of Virginia Scratch project in there, and I put the link. It really is virginiatrekkers.com.
So cool.
And I, as I said, I don't think they're adding to it anymore, but yeah, it was, they went all over the state. So yeah, and they've got it out by the 6 regions. I hope that's 4th grade. They do have some disclaimers here about it not working, but all their videos are on Vimeo. So yeah, check it out. That was a great project.
Oh, and if they're on Vimeo, that's huge.
Yep, because I don't know if other districts have this issue, but our particular district blocks YouTube for middle school students. So yeah, Vimeo is awesome if we can get it through there.
Yeah. I wish there was more on Vimeo. That would be
right. Yeah, that
would be wonderful. But
well, that's okay. Well, that's good to know for any kind of content stuff we're doing. Yeah, it's the blocking.
Good info. Mel's saying Bonnie from Global GEG has some virtual field trip stuff. I mean, I don't think it has to be Virginia specific. I just mentioned that because again, the 4th grade Virginia history is just perfect. But that's a good point. We'll have to take a look at the global resources. See, this is what this is all about.
Right.
Well, and one of the real goals of the OER movement early on was to create digital textbooks as well, so that you weren't limited to those hard cover things. So there's organizations out there where early on, and Teresa, I'm thinking about you for music, because one of the original CK12 textbooks was a music theory textbook. But the cool piece about it was, because of the platform they were using, everybody could contribute to it. So if like your area of expertise was this, you could write that chapter. And if my area was a different expertise, I could write that other chapter. We could remix them together as we wanted to. And then what CK12.com did was, this was still early days when we didn't have a lot of one-to-one, they'd print your textbook for like $10 a copy. So if you still needed the hardcover to get out to kids, it was cheap, but it was also available online. And again, that remixing idea, I need chapters 1 and 3 and 5. I don't need 2, I don't need 6, and 4, I'm going to need to do some work on it before I can use it. So same idea. And they may be on Go Open. There's a couple algebra textbooks out there already put together based on resources as well. So
I never thought about using an open textbook, but that's such a smart idea. Yeah. Very cool.
It really is. Oh, this is pretty cool. The other thing that I thought was interesting, I wanted to tell you, I think I told Tyler before. So I'm attending the Virginia Music Educator Conference this weekend, attending virtually, of course, but there's actually a session about these resources.
Yeah.
So they have a session on Go Open VA.
Oh, really? Oh, that's maybe I have an all-day meeting on Saturday. I guess I'm not going, but even those kinds of things. So here, I'll pull it down since you are a musician. So when I'm incredibly stressed out, my COVID was to learn to play the ukulele. I mean, I play the piano and guitar and stuff, but I thought I need something that I don't need to sound good on, and that's sort of easy to just plink away. So there's this great website called Uke Tabs, and the students on the site have created the tabs. So again, they're open. It isn't pre-printed sheet music that's got all kinds of copyright, you know, where your choir director goes off, you know, and sort of makes copies she's not supposed to. And there are these great uke tabs, but again, it's open. And if you like one of them, I looked at the lyrics were kind of wrong. And so I was able to go in and comment and help them fix it up and that sort of thing. But it, you know, ultimately we're kind of getting back to what the original idea behind the whole darn web was. Do you remember? You guys are too young probably, but you know, in the late 1990s, people in the late 1990s on the internet, if you even said, oh, by the way, you know, I wrote this book, you were like slammed, man. No advertising, no promotion. This was going to be this great open thing. And then the first URL, I think, was toyota.com maybe or something. And it was all downhill after that. But that really was the original idea. And that's where these learning objects came about in those days. You know, let's do these little pieces of instruction. And so we're just fulfilling our destiny. It's just taken us a couple of decades to do it. I am confident with enthusiastic folks like you out there who really, and I'm not being sarcastic here. We need the younger. I think we need to rethink this, and we really do need a next generation to say this is important for us to do this. We haven't been schooled in the old way, and so we see the power of this, and we're going to move it forward. And hopefully we've built a good foundation for that. And Go opens the place, at least for Virginia at this point.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Looks like there's awesome conversations going on in the chat as well about the various resources and field trips. So this has been a really good evening. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Hey, happy to do it anytime I can just come and you guys were talking about this, you know, this notion of sort of chewing the fat of what we do as educators. And I worry that we have lost that. So I'm having conversations with people about, you know, trying to have these kinds of things, just these little get-togethers and do some sharing. I know when the VISTI board gets together, we're trying to have a business meeting and they're all busy in the chat, like, what's going on in your school and what are you doing and all those kinds of things. We miss that. So I love that you all are doing this. Keep us up to date. Obviously, we featured you at visti.org this week, but you know, keep us going, and we'll try to push out reminders that this is happening every month. Thank you all, because I think people need to understand, like, this is your volunteer work, and you guys are passionate about this, and that's just awesome that you're willing to do it and put these things together. So, yay.
All right, guys. Well, everybody, I guess probably that's it. So we'll let you know what's going on for December, and we'll see everybody then. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.